All right, let's continue on. Second hour, Dave Elswick Show. The last show for this week, live for the Dave Elswick Show. Next, or tomorrow, you'll have Salem talents filling in for me and for Doc as we take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to get all of our electronics over to our new studios and get them all hooked up and running correctly. And when you tune in on Monday, should be pretty self-explanatory because you'll have to do nothing. We'll be on, and we'll be on the radio the way we should be. We'll be on the internet the way we should be, and we will be moving forward here on the Dave Elswick Show. New studios look good. They've gotten all of the carpentry work done at the studio, and we've got engineers coming in from Salem corporate, and they're going to do all that other work that has to be done. Steve doesn't have to do any of that. He has to be here, but he's not going to be lugging all the computers and everything over there and then hooking it all back up again. All right, so time for David Fisher. David Fisher is with us every Thursday, starting at 8:05, and we're going to talk with him about gold and silver. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about what's going on in the news that is causing a lot of the changes that we're seeing in precious metals and in our stock market and things of that nature. You can contact David and David's business at 844-604-2575. That's 844-604-2575, or visit them online at Landmark Gold. That's one word, landmarkgold.com. David, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today.
Fantastic. I'm so excited to be with you. We're going to talk about the big picture today a little bit and how it relates on to smaller markets, all the markets that is. And boy, the world is rapidly changing geopolitically. It is. It's amazing.
You know, I'm sitting here, and last week the big story, and we talked about it, was Venezuela and going in and getting Maduro and taking him out of his own country and bringing him to New York City, putting him in jail, and he's already been indicted. So now they are working towards a time that they'll get that in front of a judge. But since last week, now we're talking Greenland, and we're talking about Iran that is just boiling over with protests. What are some things you got to tell us about on those two issues?
Yeah, and Cuba is also in a little bit of the side limelight too, and and who knows if we're going to stop there. So let's step back for a second. For a long time, well, let's go since President Reagan. Mm-hmm. There's been first of all, there's three different distinctive movements in the world. We have communism, Russia, China, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, and many others, where countries are ruled by a dictator and the people typically starve.
Right.
And it falls apart. Then there's socialism. We're talking about Europe. We're talking about NATO. We're talking about the World Economic Forum. You'll have nothing. You'll be happy. Eat bugs instead of red meat. Green. No fossil fuel engines. Do away with all that and give everybody everything they want, and we'll figure out how to pay for it later.
Right.
And then there's the United States. Capitalism. Free markets. Free enterprise. Freedom. Liberty. Justice for all. You can say what you want to say with not all these other things that happen, ramifications, entrepreneurship, where people can grow a business, a company, and take care of their family. And those three things are diametrically opposed. And there has been, from an administration, a presidential level in the United States, a void since Reagan. And in that void, Dave, we've seen communism and socialism rise, especially the last 4 years.
Yeah, flourish.
So President Trump is trying to reset, not just make America great. He's trying to reset this into a balanced order. He's not saying we're going to do totally away with communism and socialism. He's challenging the ideologies, and that is what is coming under scrutiny, and it's affecting the markets, affecting the dollar, it's affecting stocks, it's affecting gold and silver.
All right, so where do you think it's going to go? I mean, what's happening with these communist countries? Sounds like they're all just about on the ropes. They have troubles financially. They're having trouble feeding their people, their citizenry. How long can they hold off before it falls apart?
Well, I think they're going to hold on for decades and decades and hundreds of years, just like they already have. This is just a cycle, is all it is.
Okay.
And if you understand cycles, like Ray Dalio, the largest hedge fund manager in the world, he says, understand the cycles and move your money accordingly. That's why he's not a gold company, but he's very pro-gold, because the cycle is telling us by the thermometer of gold going up 64% last year and silver going up 142%, using those as a thermometer. Those are not normal movements. 20 to 30% is normal. But why did we have those big movements? It tells us something is breaking, something is falling apart. It's not normal. And that's why I want all the listeners to understand it's just a cycle going through, and it's going to last for a while, not 1 year, not 2 years, 5 to 10 years. But let's go down memory lane, because we have to understand the big picture here. Us going into Venezuela was very, by most of the world, they hated it. They thought we were bullying the world. We're trying to, now possibly taking over Greenland. Why Greenland? Well, because it's rare earth minerals. We need them. And if we don't do it, China or Russia will do it. And so that's the big piece of land that's the easiest to accessible. And we have a lot of military bases there. And that's a piece of land between Russia and the United States. And I'm going to make a projection once we get Greenland, and we will get Greenland. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm just saying this is what President Trump is going to do. He's going to go after Canada. He's already talked about it being the 51st state. So that's how President Trump works. But in the scheme of things, Dave, this is not abnormal. It's abnormal in our lifetime. But in the scheme of America, for the first 150, 175 years, it was not a normal. We bought Florida. We bought we bought Louisiana. We purchased Alaska from Russia. We took over Hawaii. We won Arizona and California in the Mexican War. I can go on and on. The Virgin Islands, Guam, Philippines, etc. We've either bought it or we took it over. But why the big change in Venezuela is that was all about the dollar. The dollar's in trouble. Going down memory lane, we went into 2000, we went into Iraq. Why? Because Saddam Hussein started selling oil, not in U.S. dollars, because it's supposed to be sold in all dollars since 1974. It's called the petrodollar. That's what caused the dollar to become the world reserve currency starting in 1974. So in 2000, Saddam Hussein started selling oil in euros, and 3 years later, we took it out. Gaddafi, same thing, oil in another currency, we took it out. Venezuela in 2022 started selling oil in the Chinese currency, the yuan, and we took it out. And so this is, the dollar's in trouble. It went down the most it's ever gone down in last year, 10.5%. There's a shift. There is a pattern here. And we're going to talk about this next week. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're going to talk about where is the dollar in the scheme of thing of historical contents of world reserve currencies. We're at the latter stage. That's why gold and silver rallied. So Venezuela, the communism, Russia, China, they're not going away. unless we have like this big war, and this might turn into a war with Iran here coming up, but I don't know if it's going to be a boots on the ground. But financially speaking, they're going to fight us because the world does not like what we're doing, and they're going to get rid of the dollar even more now. So expect a bigger rally in gold and silver in 2026 than 2025.
Well, I do know that Israel has told Iran to cool their jets or face their wrath, and the Kurds now are massing on the border with Iran as well.
This is going to escalate. I'm not a war guy. I don't like conflict, but conflict has resolution, and this is part of the plan, the bigger scheme, whether we like it or not, that President Trump is saying, I'm going to reset the global order because capitalism's been beaten up, and we got to bring this in balance, because if we don't, the two other entities will rise, communism and socialism. And so that's why President Trump is doing what he's doing. And you will see some benefits from this, but it costs a lot of money we do not have. And that's why we're talking about what the financial aspect of this, because there is no money tree in the White House backyard.
That's exactly
right. It's
right.
Called create treasuries, called creating debt. But if the world doesn't want our debt, we have a big problem. And that's what surfaced as a inflection point last year, evidenced by the dollar going down 10.5%, because the Treasury pays 4%. You have a guaranteed loss of 6.5%. Are you going to sign up for that if you're around the world? No, absolutely not. And on top of that, what's happening geopolitically, you don't like that. So that's why this could thing snowball, where the world is just going to say, I don't want the dollar no more. The very time that we need them to own our debt and buy our debt is the very time they're going to probably back away the most.
All right, so last week you talked to us as well about your predictions about several market performances. Do you have more examples of how and why gold and silver will outperform the stock market?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a guy by the name of Joe Terranova. If you saw his picture, he's on Watch CNBC. He's every day on CNBC. He's a commentator. He's a money manager. And according to CNBC, he was the best performing money manager as a contributor, at 38%. Now, the NASDAQ went up 20%, the S&P went up 16%, the Dow went up 13%. Like I said, gold went up 64% and silver 142%, He got 38%, which is a good money manager usually gets more than those indexes, not combined, but the top performing one. I just talked to a gentleman yesterday, an investor that heard me on another radio talk show host, and he told me his money man got him 10.5%. Well, think about that. If the dollar went down 10%, he netted 5%. He's not barely keeping above water. Why I'm bringing this up? Because if you are not invested, diversified into precious metals with this new era, this phase we are just started last year, you're going to miss a big boom. Bank of America just came out and said silver is going to be 137 to 307 in 2026. We're at 89 right now. Think about that for a second. That's a huge movement.
Yeah,
Bank of America, not a gold and silver company. There's a guy who's a big Asian money manager, and he came out and said his name is Drew Kiner. He's a managing director of CIO Swiss Asia Capital. I've said on your program, $8,000 to $12,000 gold in 5 to 10 years. He said last week, $8,000 to $12,000 gold by 2028.
Wow.
Why are these people saying these things? Because the same thing that was intact last year is intact today, but more pronounced. The world doesn't want our dollar. We can't manage our debt. We're $2 trillion budget deficit and growing. We're going to go into the rest of the world and balance this thing out. The world doesn't like it. They move away from the dollar. We have so much uncertainty going on, and gold and silver is going to be, again, the number one investment categories. So I encourage your listeners, not for my sake. In fact, I'll say this. If you don't want to do this with my company, do it for yourself with somebody. That's how much I believe in this market. I think I'm worthy of the business of people that hear us, because nobody educates like Landmark Capital and facilitates things and holds people's hands in IRA, 401k rollovers, or just over-the-counter purchases. So we have excellent customer service, but I'm telling emphatically the markets are going to move big time for quite a few years here. Not what I just say, but what people who have nothing to do with gold. And those are just a couple of this week. We don't have enough time to go through all the people, but we're in a major bull market, and it's going to be a volatile year. What does that mean? A lot of yo-yoing up and down. And, silver is up 23% already. Think about that. We're 2 weeks into the year, 23%. Imagine where we're going. I think Bank of America is going to be right. And gold's up about 7%. It's outperforming just about everything except for the Nasdaq's done fairly well because of AI. But diversification is the key. That is the key. But call to get information. The white paper I have about the golden rule that has a silver lining. We're going to see probably President Trump and his administrations revalue gold. So you're going to want to have some gold. It's because it's going to cause gold to go up. You're going to want to have some gold. You're going to have some silver. And next week, we'll talk about this big shortage in silver, why silver rallied last year, why it's going to rally this year. We're going to be amazed. We're going to talk about the currency, what's really going on with the dollar. We're going to do some more big pictures. But the bottom line is simple as this. Investing is just putting your money in an area that you think is going to do well and buying it and holding it. And we have now proof from third-party sources, multiple, that gold and silver is going to be in a massive rally in 2026. Don't miss it if you miss 2025.
All right, last question for you. What's the latest news on gold and silver? I mean, it's going up. Silver's going up. Gold's going up. Any other things that we should take into account?
Well, I jumped to the last question by mentioning these two gentlemen, Bank of America and also the gentleman out of Asia. But I could tell you this, Ray Dalio just came out last week and said you're going to want to have at least 30% of your money in gold. Ray Dalio, he's the largest hedge fund manager. I can tell you Jamie Dimon, who's the largest CEO of a bank, the largest bank in the United States and one of the largest in the world, he has been affirming that gold can go to $5,000 to $10,000 in this environment. So these people have, I've been doing this 32 years. I've never heard these kind of people talk about gold or silver, because they typically have been anti-gold and anti-silver. But I'm telling you, the world is falling in love with gold and silver. Look at the performance. If you're not getting 60, 50% movement on your money or more, diversify into gold and silver, and you will start to see those increases. Call my company, because that's the news of this week. They keep talking about this every day on CNBC, the big movements in gold and silver. So the news sources are telling us, by it being in the news, this is something you want to have representation in.
All right, 844-604-2575 for Landmark Gold, or you can go to landmarkgold.com and talk to somebody about balancing out your portfolio. Also, when you get a hold of them, ask them to send you the 2 free white papers that they have, the Golden Era that has a silver lining, and BRICS, the new financial system that could dethrone the U.S. dollar as a global reserve currency. Again, that's 844-604-2575 or landmarkgold.com. David, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate being with you, Dave.
It's always great. We appreciate you. All right, so David Fletcher is keeping us up to date on what's going on in the markets and how you should be looking at it. I'm calling him today. I've got a 401k that I've got about $15,000 in. I'm going to move $10,000 into gold and silver today, just so you know. I'm hearing my own words, so I'm going to do what David is saying that I should do. Their number again, 844-604-2575, and that's landmarkgold, one word, .com. All right, we got to get a break in. It's about 8:26 here in the Dave Elswick Show. Don't forget about the health plan man people. They want you to call, text them. That's what they want you to do. Text them at now to 501-650-6520. That's now to 501-650-6520, and they're going to send you back information about how you can save money on your health plan insurance. You're conservative, I'm conservative. Be conservative with your health plan and get a health plan that's going to reward you, not the insurance companies or the government, but is going to reward you for your smart health care choices. Text now to 501-650-6520 and do that today. All right, back with you. We got news coming up here in about 3 minutes. That is the most feverishly delivered information I've ever heard from David. I mean, he didn't mince words today. He told you, you get it into gold and silver markets now or miss out. That's what's going to happen, and he is for sure that the president is going to reevaluate gold. They've done it in the past. It's been maybe 2 decades coming, and it could be that maybe when they value gold, whatever you've got in the bank all of a sudden is going to be worth 25-30% more, and you won't have even put in a dime. So I'm doing it. I've been putting it off. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably one of the most conservative investors you've ever met because I got blown out when the economy fell through the floor a few years back and lost about $30,000. And I'm going to get I'm looking at it. I've been watching it every day when I leave this building. They got a big television downstairs, and they got the Fox Business Channel on, and I stand there until I see what it says about gold. And I'm going to tell you, just about every day, it's gone up. Yesterday, when I left it had gone up another $54. So, this is not going to be a shame on me kind of thing. I don't want to have that happen, where I'm, trying to make up and can't make up for it. All right, let's get to the news and find out what they're going to report to us today. The opposition leader is coming in from Venezuela, coming in and talking to the president today. All right, back with you on the Dave Elswick Show, moving into the last half hour of the first hour of a Thursday show. Remember, I will not be on tomorrow. There will be some Salem programming on for you. We're making our final move into our new studios, which means that we want to make sure that it's all up and running and copacetic when I sit down in front of the microphone on Monday morning. So we're just moving to another building for our studios. Don't forget that you're invited to attend Bow Ties for Babies. That's happening a week from today, and will be starting at from 5:30 to 6. There's a private reception that will cost you an extra $50 if you want to meet Scott Jennings, the conservative commentator, who is here on the answer from noon until 2, I believe, is when he's on. So he's going to be here as a speaker at Bow Ties and Babies. And he is going to be also with former Kansas Governor and U.S. Ambassador Sam Brownback. He will be here to talk as well. You get to see both of those people. You get a nice dinner. It's all at the Benton Event Center next Thursday, and the dinner is from 6:30 till 8:30, and then we're usually out by 9:30 for Bow Ties for Babies. I'll be there. The event includes an opportunity as well for you to financially support Arkansas Right to Life. Table hosts, if you want to get a full table and sponsor it, that's for 10 people. $1,250 is the cost, and per person $125 is what you're looking at. It was a great time last year. We had a speaker here that was kind of a humorist, and he was good. And then, of course, 2 years ago, Tim Tebow was here, and that was an outstanding, informative dinner. But this time, Scott Jennings and Sam Brownback. All right, Dave Elswick with you here on, of course, The Answer. And let's take a look at some of the other news that's going on over, seas and taking part across other parts of the world. And taking a look at it right now, yesterday was a tough time because I have a Verizon phone, and the phone carrier went down. They had all kinds of issues. My phone was stuck in SOS mode. I couldn't call anybody. It was crazy. Well, Iran. This is something that you're going to have to take one-on-one on. You're going to have to understand that Iran has issued an assassination threat against Trump. And it says this time it will not miss the target. The Ayatollah has a strange approach, it seems, to de-escalation, because that's what he's supposed to say he's going to do. From the New York Post, the image of a bloody Trump appeared to be taken from a pro-government rally in Iran, which has been allowed to air despite nationwide blackouts over the protests against the regime. Trump was infamously the target of an assassination attempt during a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, when he was shot in the ear by gunman Thomas Crooks. The Justice Department also said that in 2024, the U.S. thwarted an Iranian-led plot to kill Trump after arresting Farhad Sharkira, who was allegedly tasked by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps to murder the president for the regime, according to court documents. So this is real. It's our Secret Service is going to be on heightened alert, heightened duty, and the Ayatollah better pay attention, because if an Iranian shoots the president of the United States and we find out that their government was behind it, we'll turn that country into a mirror, and rightly so. Rightly so. They're already on, we've all got off the bad side of the bed today when you look at what Iran is doing to the protesters in their country. They're shooting people dead in the streets. They're arresting people and getting ready to have mock trials, and then we'll take those people and and send them to death to a firing squad. Iran says, well, we're listening to you. We won't hang them. We'll shoot them. This guy, if you want to call somebody a Hitler, this is the guy you call Hitler. In fact, he's probably worse than Hitler was, because ever since he's been around, since about 78 over there in Iran, his predecessor, the Ayatollah at that time, was notorious for killing, thousands of people over the years, and the president as well. I forget what the guy's name was. He was one of the kidnappers of our American citizens over in Iraq, but we're going to have to just keep our eye there on them. They've been warned by the USA. They've been warned by the nation of Israel as well. It's very clear that we're clearing space and assembling our key assets. Financial Times reporting Washington is evacuating personnel from a military base in Qatar as the possibility of a U.S. strike on Iran raises fears across the region of a wider war. A U.S. official on Wednesday said some people were leaving Al-Udeid Air Base, Washington's regional military command, which hosts about 10,000 troops. Tehran previously targeted that air base with a missile barrage after the U.S. bombed its nuclear facilities during Israel's 12-day war against Iran in June. From our embassy in Qatar, here's a memo. Given ongoing regional tensions, the U.S. Embassy in Doha has advised its personnel to exercise increased caution and limit non-essential travel to that airbase. We recommend U.S. citizens in Qatar do the same. Treasury Secretary Bensett said, we are now seeing the rats fleeing the ship because we can see millions, tens of millions of dollars being wired out of the country, snuck out of the country by the Iranian leadership. So they are abandoning ship, and we are seeing it come into banks and financial institutions all over the world. So nobody in Iran that's in power is trying to fool themselves. And it's just like the Secretary said, the Secretary of Treasury said, we can watch them move the money around. We can see them moving it out of country so that they feel like it's being protected. So they are taking care of that. So if the people that are on that airbase, the civilian members, are being told, you need to get the heck out, then know that we're just around the corner from probably some kinetic action taking place over in Iran as far as they're concerned. Israel has now warned Iran, if you attack us, we're going to end you for good. That comes via Israel's Channel 12, where it was said an Israeli security official just said if Iran attacks, there won't be another round after that. No back and forth, no limits. According to the official, Israel will move to bring down the Iranian regime entirely. Israel Harum, against the backdrop of threats by U.S. President Trump, Israel's security establishment, with particular emphasis on the Israeli Air Force, has shifted to its highest state of readiness amid indications of a looming U.S. strike on Iran. Israel's air defense array has raised its alert level nationwide and is preparing for the possibility of a heavy Iranian barrage directed at Israel. At the same time, the Israeli Air Force is preparing potential retaliatory strikes should Iran make what Israeli officials describe as a grave mistake by launching long-range surface-to-surface missiles at Israel. On Sunday, Iran had threatened Israel that they would retaliate towards the Jewish state if the U.S. hit them. That was published in the Times of Israel. Well, they now have the answer from Israel, and it's a direct and it's clear. You can't make it up. They have told Iran, if you attack us, we will end you for good. All right? And don't think that Israel can't do it. If there's one country that, if they got into a just all-out war with another one of the countries over in the Middle East, I believe they would win and win decisively. All right, we got to get a break in. Let's do that. It's 8:46 here, 8:47, just changed, here on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 The Answer. All right, so yesterday, we all thought that the president was, it was just one of those goofy things that he says at times about Greenland. Well, it's not goofy. He's serious. He's really serious about Greenland. And after I did a little bit of my own research, I understand why he's serious about Greenland. Greenland is a buffer that we have to keep China and Russia from attacking from that direction on the globe. And Denmark, who is the country taking care of Greenland, is not a big enough country to take on Russia. So the president wants us to buy Greenland. And CBS News reported from the meeting yesterday, the U.S. and Denmark still have fundamental differences over the future of Greenland, but will continue to talk. Denmark's foreign minister said after a White House meeting Wednesday amid President Trump's push to take over the Arctic island. Denmark's foreign minister, Lars Rasmussen, met with Greenland's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and other officials. Rasmussen described the meeting as a, quote, frank but also constructive discussion on security, long-term security in Greenland. An interesting interchange with a reporter. The reporter. Right now, it sounds like you are saying that you would potentially acquire Greenland by force. That would be a NATO country in the United States. Are you saying that? Trump. No. You're saying that. No. You're telling me that that's what I'm going to do. You don't know what I'm going to do. Reporter. So what are the options? Trump. Your network doesn't know either. Reporter. Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right now? Trump. Well, I wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do. Certainly, I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland's very important to the national security, including the national security of Denmark. Trump on Wednesday afternoon said the United States needs Greenland for the purpose of national security. It is vital for the Golden Dome that we are building. NATO should be leading the way for us to get it. There you go. That sounds pretty serious to me. And, that they're continuing discussions. That tells me that Trump has said some things to these officials from Denmark and from Greenland that's got their ears piked up. Probably has something to do with money. That's what I would think. Has something to do with money. And saying, how much do you think it's worth? And it's going to be a question because Trump says it's necessary. Last time that we ended up getting land like this was when the Monroe Doctrine was put into place in the 1800s. And when we signed the Monroe document, we've got Puerto Rico and we got Guam. That's how they ended up being, parts of the United States. So pretty soon we might have to, I don't know if Greenland is just going to be, a territory, or if they'll be moving to make it a state. Although, from what I understand, there's only like 52,000 plus people, Greenlanders, that are there. So I don't think that we would give them statehood because of giving it, because we're getting Greenland. I think it's going to be a financial transaction, is what I think is going to happen. Are there other places that we're looking at? We might. I don't know. We might be looking at other countries and land masses. I mean, look, we can't grow right now because you've got, we've used up all the land in the United States. And for everybody who wants to say, Greenland, it's frickin' Greenland. What are we going to get out of Greenland? Well, with all of the minerals that they have on the that continent, it could be that another Seward's folly. When Seward bought Alaska, everybody thought he was nuts. You ask them what they think about that buy now. And I think you'll find that they are very pleased what occurred when Alaska became part of the United States. Earlier in the week, the Senate voted to advance a resolution that would have been a rebuke to Trump while seeking to limit his authority for further action in Venezuela. That vote was 52 to 47, with 5 GOP senators joining Democrats. The floor vote was on Wednesday. Terry Christoph at Red State wrote this. 2 Republican senators who had previously cast votes advancing the War Powers resolution introduced by Democrat of Virginia, Senator Tim Kaine, and co-sponsored by Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, and Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, thought better of it Wednesday and voted in support of a point of order against the resolution. The vote was 51-50, with Vice President J.D. Vance being the tiebreaker in his role as President of the Senate. In the wake of last week's defections by the 5 GOP senators, the president was reportedly irate and began placing phone calls to the defectors. One phone call was apparently quite heated as Trump went on a profanity-laced rant at Collins. That's according to Red State. Vance placing his vote on this vote. The yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes affirmative, and the point of order is sustained. That was what happened yesterday in the Senate. Those senators that are Republicans that are standing against the president had better be very careful because some people think that Trump is losing some of his prestige, and I don't see that happening. People around the world love the president. They turn out in droves to see the president. They did it in England just a while back. They have done it in other countries as well. All right, we got news coming up. We're going to get to the news and find out what's going on in the world as we've been talking about specifics about the world and get you ready for the news and for what's going on. So let's take a break. Your news is next here on 101.1. Then the 9 o'clock hour comes around, and we'll look at more news. 10 o'clock, we'll be joined by Matt Smith here on the Dave Elswick Show.